You guys, hello. Welcome back to the podcast. Hang on 1 second. I need to raise my desk. I'm standing for this podcast episode because I am that fired up for it. I hope you guys are having a good day. It's raining here. I can't believe it. We're in a drought. It's been raining for 24 hours. It's been super fun. So it feels like fall has fallen. Today's episode is super brief. It's a quick encouragement one. And this is one of those episodes with a little bit of homework. It's not going to be hard. I promise you're going to love it. You're going to enjoy it. It's all about joy, and we have permission to have joy. We have permission to have fun in our life. We're going to talk about the tacticals. I'm going to tell a funny story that happened today when I was trying to be so intentional with joy. It has to do with the DMV, and so you can just imagine. Okay, love you guys, and so glad you're here. Let's dive in. Welcome to a Holy Mess podcast. All right, my friends, we all know life can be so difficult and painful at times, especially when we're carrying grief or loss or wrestling with shame about our past, anxiety about our future, or frankly, like we are just not enough. But there has to be so much more for us. There is hope and joy, peace, love, fun, purpose, and a reason that you, my friend, are on this planet. Let's partner with God so you can be who He created you to be as you wrestle through and trudge through your mess. Hi, I'm Dani, a recovering alcoholic, a mom, a wife, a mentor, and dust. We are only here for a moment. Let's live like it. I'm just like you. I'm a holy mess most days. Actually, every day. Let's have some fun and laugh while trudging through our mess. This stuff doesn't need to be dry and boring. Let's dig in. Also, 2 more things. Do you want to coach with me? You and me want to hang out on a Zoom call? Let's do this. I want to help you through if you're really in a hard season or you're just dying for some spiritual growth and you're dying to feel seen and to feel heard and you need some structure or some strategy to grow spiritually and to embrace yourself and embrace all that God has for you. I'd love to work with you one-on-one. I have a few openings. You can email me. Secondly, if you want to do the spiritual growth stuff on your own, I love it. I'm all here for it. You know you're in a headspace where you can show up and do the work, that you're really ready to have that breakthrough in your spiritual growth, but you'd like some direction, head to DaniSumner.com/spiritual intentions framework. The link will be in the show notes, and you can check out my course. It's 12 foundational principles to spiritual growth when all else fails. Let's go. So this morning, Kenzie and I both had DMV appointments because on my vacation, guess who lost her driver's license? Yes. Me. I lost my driver's license. This is now the 2nd trip in a row this year that I lost my driver's license at the airport, which is crazy. So I made an appointment for myself. And then I also made an appointment for Kenzie to get her permit test. So we've had a little bit of struggle with that permit test for a whole host of reasons. Super jazzed. She passed it this morning. But let me tell you what happened. I've been thinking about this podcast episode. I've been thinking about the need for joy and to have more fun in our life and how are we supposed to have this intentional view of just joy and just finding delight in the little things, especially if you're struggling in life? Let me just tell you right now, if you are grieving, if you are struggling, if you're miserable in any circumstances in your life, this is when you got to double down and you have to be so intentional to find joyful moments. I'm not saying your whole day has to be joyful, but you guys, we have got to fight to have 5 to 10 minutes of joy. And can I just say for a moment, if joy feels like too big of a leap for you, and I totally get it, I totally understand that, can we take the leap or the step to enjoyment? So maybe you can't fully be in joy, right? But are there things that you can enjoy for 5 minutes today or for 10 minutes today? You have permission to take off your struggle hat. You have permission to get off the struggle bus for 5 to 10 minutes a day and laugh and have some joy and believe and hope again and believe that you're going to have more peace and all of that. And so this morning when I woke up, this was my paradigm. This was like, I'm going to have a joyful day. I don't care what happens. I'm going to have joy today. Went to DMV. We had a 9 a.m. appointment. How bad could that be, right? So we get there actually at 8:30. We dropped Zach off early, grabbed Starbucks. We got there at 8:30, walk in the door. I'm just joyful and delighted, right? So we get in line. They have an appointment line and a non-appointment line. So we're in the appointment line and the lady kept letting the non-appointment line go first, which I was like, okay, I'm going to let that go. Okay. Even though I went online a week ago to make this appointment, I'm going to let the non-appointment people go because they obviously need to be seen first, whatever. So we get up there Now it's 8:36. Our appointment's at 9. The lady goes, I'm so sorry. No, she didn't say I'm so sorry. That would have made it better. She did not say I'm so sorry. She said, you're early. You need to come back 10 or 5 minutes till. Like, that was it. Like, not even super friendly. I'm like, okay, no problem. No problem. So we go out to the car. Kenzie, of course, is like, I told you we shouldn't have went in so early. So we went to the car. She got to study her permit test. I get to read my emails. It was great. Walk back in. We get in line again. And I kid you not, one of the DMV workers walks up to our line and she's like, I don't know if you guys heard, but the system's down statewide. We don't know how long it's going to be down. You're welcome to wait, but it could be anywhere from 30 minutes to 4 hours to all day. We never know when this happens. Thank you so much. Have a great day. So I was like, are you kidding me? So literally, I get red inside. You know what I'm talking about. Like, heat just rises and I'm like, we're leaving. Like, I'm getting Kenzie to school. So Kenzie quietly and calmly says, let's sit over there and wait a few minutes. And I'm like, no, Kenz, I know how this works. This is going to be an all day thing. Let's go. And she's like, I don't want to reschedule this appointment. I'm ready for this appointment. Let's go sit over in those chairs. So again, I said to my daughter, honey, I know how these things go. We're at the DMV. This is not the place to like wait it out and to see if it's going to come back online. Trust me, they don't care. We need to go. And she's like, Mom, can we please just sit and wait a few minutes? So I took a deep breath and I went, you know what? This is more stressful on her than it is on me. So we went and sat down in the chairs. And I kid you not, 7 minutes later, now serving F014. Now serving F015. And if you don't know what I'm saying, that is what they say. They say now serving. And then, a bunch of numbers. So Kenzie looks at me with just this little smirk, like, I told you it was going to be back on. Right. And I'm like, okay, you're right. Okay, I'm so glad. So we go get back in the appointment line. We get separated because she had to go to her thing. I had to go to my thing. She had the nicest guy. His name was, well, I'm not supposed to tell you his name because she's like, there's legalities. You can't tell people's stories on your podcast without permission, which is great. And I understand that. But I think if I'm praising somebody, I think I can say that. So I think that the general consensus of all of humanity is if someone's going to say something nice about you, please say it publicly. So I just want to give all of humanity permission. If you're going to say anything nice about me, please say it as public as you want, right? If you have something corrective to say, change my name or tell me in private, right? But the guy was incredible. He was amazing. He literally should be the poster child for the DMV. Nicest man ever. We'll call him Fred, okay? His name's not Fred. So he comes up to me after he helps Kenzie and he hands me her birth certificate and all the paperwork. And he said, hey, listen, she said the last 2 times the screen was bothering her eyes. So I printed out the test. I think that'll help her. And I was like, oh my gosh, thank you. He's like, yeah, some people just really have a hard time with the screen. So I printed it out for her and I'm sure she's going to do great. And I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. And, and it was just like, oh my gosh, this man took a moment to pay attention to my daughter, understand what her problems were, her issues and her needs, and then printed out the test for her. And I'm so grateful. Then I'm getting my driver's license stuff and the lady's like, she's asking me questions. And I'm like, literally like so nervous for Kenzie. And so the lady was hilarious as she's helping me. She's like, you're not taking the test, right? It's your kid. Like, you're fine. You're totally fine. And I'm like, I know, but I'm just so concerned about her. And the lady was like, well, what's going to happen is going to happen. So it's okay. It's all good. I'm like, you know what? Good perspective. Thanks, ma'am. It was a great day of life lessons at the DMV. So then I'm stepping over to the side and Kenzie's test is being corrected. And she texted me. She's like, I'm done. I'm just waiting. And so then I saw the biggest smile on her face, you guys. And she gave me the thumbs up. She passed her permit test. So now she gets to drive, which I'm so excited. And it's going to be incredible. All that to say, the DMV really could have derailed me today. And the DMV did derail me today in my joy and my pursuit and my intention of joy. But my daughter helped me. That kind man whose name was Clint. I'm going to tell you his name because you know what? I'm not going to take legal advice from my 16-year-old. Clint is incredible at the DMV in San Luis Obispo, California. That guy deserves a medal. He went above and beyond. He was so kind. So, permission for joy. Here's the deal. When you're struggling, this is when you have to double down and be super intentional to find joyful things in your life, to find happiness, not happiness. Happiness is cheap, whatever. You don't need to find happiness, but you do need to laugh. You need to find something to delight yourself in, okay? Especially when we're struggling with hard things, we kind of get in this rut. I don't know about you, but I personally get in this rut of hard emotions. And like I'm a grinding and I got to struggle. And sometimes the struggle, I'll be honest with you, is easier for me than the joyful, light feelings, right? Because I'm used to heavy, right? Like I'm used to hard and deep things and struggles and all of that. That's really comfortable for me. It's actually my default. I know I seem extroverted and joyful, and I am, but I also have this very like deep, depressive side to me, right? And I have to like fight for the joy. I have to like fight to come out of that dark tunnel. Okay. And so sometimes the dark tunnel is a little bit cozier and just easier. Okay. Especially if you've had a hard life, hard childhood, hard season, you get used to just struggle. And so it's harder to feel lightness, and almost we feel guilty when we have joy. We feel guilty when we have peace. Some of us have survivor's guilt from just life in general. And we feel guilty when good things are going on. And so there's just this whole, it's very complex at times. So I just wanted to acknowledge some of us feel guilt when we have any good seasons or good times, or we're always waiting for like the other shoe to drop. That's part of that component. But I just wanted to just say, if you can't give yourself the whole day and you can't even give yourself a whole hour, give yourself 5 minutes or 10 minutes, permission not to have things figured out, permission not to grieve so intensely for this 1 hour. Like you actually have permission to find something to laugh about, even in your grief. We have permission to lighten the load and to actually choose a lighter yoke for a little while. I'm not saying you have to do it all day. I'm not saying you have to do it for a week. I'm just saying if you can be really intentional to do that for 5 minutes. And if you're like, Dani, what are you talking about? I have joy 3 hours a day. Like I am just full of joy. And when you're in those struggling moments, maybe that's when you need to fight to give yourself permission to elevate yourself out of the muck and the mire and find something to delight yourself in that moment. A couple things I just want to throw out there. I would write a list. What are the things that bring you joy? I was on a call literally last week, a coaching call, and I had challenged my new friend to find some things in his life that brought him joy. And he was at a loss. And he was saying, well, there's times when like the people in my life bring me joy and all of that. And I'm like, okay, well, what fundamentally, when you were a kid, what did you like to do? And he's like, well, I used to make racing boats. I used to create. So I was like, well, do something creative, like go in your garage and put something together with wood, do something creative, go in the garden and garden or build something or do some sport, maybe go back to the basics and do racquetball or pickleball is really fun. I love pickleball. Pickleball brings me joy. Do some dancing, read a funny book or read an autobiography that inspires you. Like that can really bring joy. Read a memoir, right? There's so much. I mean, I've talked about it before on the podcast. Sometimes when I'm struggling, I just go on YouTube and find a good comedian and just laugh, and just getting me out of myself for 3 minutes and laughing. Whew, it lightens the load. It really helps. So I just want to challenge us, especially when you're going through a hard season. You've got to set aside time. I'm talking schedule it in. It's like an appointment with yourself for joy. It might sound cheesy. Maybe put joy in your calendar, right? But you have an appointment with joy for 5 minutes to 60 minutes a day. And just try to be intentional. And I'm not going to say you have to do this every day, but you guys try to be intentional with it. And you might be like, Dani, this is so lame. I already have joy. Okay, that's great. That's fantastic. But you guys, we can actually become more intentional to have joy and to have peace. Like we can make appointments with these emotions that we actually want. And this is a podcast episode for another time, but we can actually make time in our life and time in our day to make appointments with these feelings that we actually want to be feeling and practice feeling them, like putting them on, like practice putting these feelings and emotions in our heart and in our mind. And then it begins to align our thoughts with what we need to be thinking to feel these emotions. And then everything just starts to get aligned. But you guys, if you're not acquainted with it, it's hard and it feels awkward. And so, let's talk about the elephant in the room. It is a little awkward and hard at times when we're struggling. This is one of those times where, and I'm not a pick yourself up by your bootstraps kind of girl. I am a grace and compassion and for the moment and grieve it and let Jesus heal you in it. But this is one of those times where we have got to find the perspective and to make appointments with ourselves to put on these emotions that we actually want to be feeling. It's a little bit complex, but it's really simple too, because we are pretty simple creatures with how our brains and minds work. We have trained ourselves. Life has trained us. People have trained us to feel a certain amount of oppression. And there is some spiritual warfare stuff going on too, guys. And so this is where we really have to like pray and really ask Jesus, like, Lord, can you help me feel more joy, or just be more joyful, or bring more joy into this world? And I'm telling you, you bring joy to someone else, you internally feel it. I don't know how it works. It's magical though. I challenge you today for 2 days, today and tomorrow. Can you make an appointment? 5 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, actual, be intentional. And if you're like, Dani, I don't know what brings me joy. No condemnation, no shame. Don't beat yourself up. Go back to the basics. Start unpacking that. Like, what could bring you joy? What could make you laugh? And if there literally is nothing that brings you joy, you might really be in a season of deep depression. And that is when you really need to reach out to have more support. Get a good therapist, get in touch with a pastor, get some people praying for you. Try to connect in a support group or some good friends, or because you guys, we all have permission to have joy no matter what's going on, even in grief. You know, I have a friend who's a widow. She just lost her husband, and she is grieving. Like, she is grieving so hard, you guys. But I'm telling you, like, there are moments where we just laugh so hard, and it's like, it's mixed because it's grief, but she reminisces about their relationship and all of that. And there is, even in like the midst of deep, deep grief, and even you guys in the midst of deep, deep regret, with if you're regretting things with your kids or with relationships, or you're just grieving that, there's still other things in your life that I would ask you to just fight for, to have some joy and to have some peace and to have some fun. Email me. Let me know what you come up with. If there's anything that you think is just so fun that I didn't say today, I made a list of my stuff. Email me. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to share it with our people. So hello@DaniSumner.com. Of course, if you need prayer or anything else, please reach out. hello@DaniSumner.com. And I have to tell you one last quick story. A couple weeks ago, I was struggling and I needed to get some ironing done. I didn't have time to run to the cleaners. It's a long story. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to iron. And I have not ironed, I kid you not, in 8 years. Like, I literally was like texting Gary, like, where is our iron? And oh my gosh, we need a new ironing board and all that. And so anyways, we have a steamer, but anyway, I wanted to iron because the collar and whatever. You guys, 2 hours later, I literally ironed so much of our clothes, and it was so fun. And I forgot how much joy ironing brought me. And I know you're like, you are so lame. Maybe I am lame. Okay. But when I was a little kid, I used to iron with my grandma, and it was one of the most rewarding, amazing times. And I used to iron my dad's shirts for work, and it just, I don't know why, but it brought me joy. And when I was ironing, I'm like, oh my gosh, I like to iron. And you guys, if you know me at all, which you guys know me pretty well, I don't like to clean the house. There's nothing about the house that I like to do, right? At all. I like to cook, but I don't like to clean the kitchen. I'd rather just pile up the dishes and just start over and buy new dishes. And I don't want to do dishes, and I don't like that stuff. Does not bring me joy. Ironing, for whatever reason, is really fulfilling, and it brings me joy. And so maybe there's even something that you did when you were a kid that you'd think you wouldn't like doing, but it actually brings you much fulfillment. I have a friend who loves to clean out his garage. Like, that's literally the highlight of his week. He gets to organize and he geeks out on it, and that's adorable and that's sweet. That is not my jam. You should see our garage. We have to hire somebody because, anyways, that's a whole other thing. I love you guys. Find something that brings you joy. You have permission for joy, no matter what you're struggling with. Please find something. Do Sudoku, do puzzles. Just find something, okay? And if you need help, email me. I'm more than happy to find you something to bring you some joy, because that's my jam. I love you guys. Let me say a quick prayer for you, and we'll be in touch in a few days. Lord, I thank you for my friend. Lord, I thank you that you give us permission to have joy and to fight for joy and to just enjoy life. Maybe we can't feel the emotion of joy, but Lord, you give us permission to enjoy life, to enjoy certain aspects of life, no matter what we're going through. And so, Lord, if my friend cannot really put on the emotion of joy, no condemnation, I pray you'd protect them, body, mind, spirit, and their soul, Lord. And I pray, Lord, that you would help them to find aspects of life that they can enjoy. Lord, we love you and we thank you. In Jesus' name, amen. Hello, my friend. If this episode blessed you, made you laugh, or triggered you, hey, that's growth. Please do me a favor and share this with a friend. And if you feel led, please leave a written review for the show. That really helps us out. Don't forget you are in good company if you're feeling more broken than you'd like to admit. And you are more loved than you can ever imagine. Have a great week. See you next time.